Pittsburgh Steelers finished up another day of practice here at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, and the topic of conversation all day was Mason Rudolph, who addressed the media, but even before that, during practice, Lions coach Dan Campbell kept some rumors alive. There's a lot of talk about Mason Rudolph potentially being targeted by the Detroit Lions. Campbell said that he still wants one of his backup quarterbacks to step up, and if not, they're not opposed to going out and getting somebody new. I think the top name on that list might be Mason Rudolph. Meanwhile, Mason Rudolph addressed trade rumors and how he was a little surprised about the Steelers' quarterback plans. What have you taken away from today?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that Dan Campbell kind of said that openly. I think when a lot of us heard that the Detroit Lions were maybe interested in trading for Mason Rudolph, we laughed it off a little bit, maybe dismissed it as just kind of filler for an increasingly boring cycle of training camp, but they do seem to have some merit now, and I think talking to Mason, he kind of could sense that. He could sense that maybe this upcoming game against the Detroit Lions is a bit of a tryout for him, and he's kind of has to prove himself to other teams, especially given that the Steelers seem to have their focus elsewhere when they think about the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I think that was the big thing. You're kind of starting to get the sense that Mason is a bit unhappy with how things have turned out here at training camp. He was expected to really compete for the starting job. I think that's taken a back seat to Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. Do you get the feel that he's kind of hoping a deal might get done before the regular season?
Yeah, and I think I did kind of sense that from him when I heard him talk today, and it makes perfect sense. You know, there doesn't seem to be a future for him here in Pittsburgh, and if there is a future, it's one as a backup, one where he takes a back seat to a younger guy in Kenny Pickett, and that's not fun for anyone. I think, if you're a guy who's made it to the NFL, made it this far, who started like Mason Rudolph has, you're a competitor. You want to have the ball in your hands, and while he kind of, I think, is too polite and too much of a professional to say that out loud, he wants to go somewhere where he can play, and I think he feels like he is being kind of dangled a little bit, and that is not comfortable.
No, you could tell that he's trying to handle this the best that he could, and all credit to Mason Rudolph in this situation. I think he's been a professional. I think he's done everything that he's supposed to do, even when the Steelers aren't necessarily treating him the right way or as they explained they were going to treat him. So he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and I think those efforts are getting noticed by other teams. It's just a matter of, are they going to call, and are the Steelers going to listen? Though that's something to think about in the future. Chris Oladokun and the door being left open, like we talked about yesterday, might mean that those phone calls are answered and those discussions are had. But right now, it's a rough spot to be for Mason Rudolph.